Earlham women's basketball team back in action as of this taping tonight, which is Wednesday, and then they'll be back home again on Saturday. And head coach Janel Iden kind enough to go one-on-one with us again here today. And Coach, I know that if you go back to the Anderson game, you have to be disappointed in the loss. You saw some good things, and I'm sure you built off from last week. But generally, I always like to find out where your initial thoughts are on the loss before we get deep into the game.
Well, you never want to lose.
Yeah, true.
But in a weird sense, we didn't have Maya, and the rebounding was a struggle. That their leading rebounder post inside game was a struggle, and somebody that's probably one of our better inside players. And Case Spade had 3 fouls in 2 minutes in the first half and didn't play.
Yeah.
So really went way deeper into the bench than I ever expect or anticipate or want to go. And we hung with them, never were out of it with that situation. Had a great third quarter. We won the quarter by 10 and just couldn't. I don't know if we put so much energy in that one quarter that we just couldn't finish it out as well. And like I said last week when we interviewed, I said they're a way better ball club.
Yeah.
They are, and they're going to be a good team. They're going to be one, I think, in the middle of the pack in the conference, to be honest with you, and stuff. So we hung with a good ball club. Again, not happy to lose. Not happy with the rebounding was probably the biggest disappointment and cost us the ball game in the end.
Yeah, I don't know how accurate the numbers were, but I was starting to look at some of the rebounding numbers and such, and again, rebounding such a big part of this. Without Maya in your lineup, now will she be back with you again tonight and this Saturday? Or
yeah, thankfully.
Okay, so that's some good news anyway. How much does she add then? Because you look at, again, you don't have the post play that you certainly want, but having her in there certainly has to be a big help for you guys.
Yeah, and maybe I mentioned it last year when we did these interviews and stuff. I realized her value after we lost the first semester, just what she brings, not necessarily in terms of basketball, but almost like a spiritual leader in some ways like that. And with Case on the bench on Saturday, I was really lacking leadership. Hannah's not a vocal leader. I was trying to get on her about it. And at least, she's one of our captains, and we would have probably had that kind of rejuvenation a little bit with somebody that's really a clapper, a smack on the back kind of person, and an uplifting person. And she's always done a really good job, not necessarily Maya's job, but she always does a really good job with Shania, picking her back up, and Shania couldn't get herself picked up on Saturday very well. And so there's a lot of little things that people don't know about that she does really well and brings value to our team. So I'm happy that we'll have her back here for a stretch until she has to report again.
Go back to Case, if you don't mind. I looked at the statistics, and I'm not always big on statistics. I really believe a lot of the things that happen are out there on the floor that people don't see, and as a coach, you see it a lot. But she had 14 points in 11 minutes, which is great production, but you had to have her in the ball game. As you said, she picked up some early fouls. Questionable or not, she has to be the type of player that she has to be on the floor for you.
Yeah. I think it's the second game in a row she's fouled out. And before that, I don't know. She maybe has fouled out one at a time in her career.
Okay.
And not to completely, defend everything. She had a couple bad fouls, but there were a couple of them that I was really upset. Like the girls tripped over, and I watched the film over again, and I was like, you didn't foul. I don't know what else to say to you on that. I don't know what the officials were really thinking, and she had that situation kind of in St. Mary's Woods, so I don't know if it's really just bad luck or what, but she had a couple where it was bad, and she knew it, and I got on her because there was a backdoor play that Anderson ran, and she, for some reason, denied, and we don't deny, and got beat, and that caused her to pick up a foul. So she's got to be smarter. At the same time, she's got to stay on the court, and she's got to figure out a way to stay on the court, especially if she has two. I put her back in, trusting her. I know if the foul was a very questionable call and stuff, but she's also got to keep her emotions in check. And that has happened in St. Mary's of the Wood when she gets frustrated and here. And that's an area she's still got a little bit grow and improve right now.
And she is a senior, so that's something you probably know from a mature standpoint. That's something she probably should have overcome, at least in your estimation by now, right?
I would hope. I mean, at the same time, she's passionate and cares, and that's why she knows how valuable she is for us. So I took it more in that sense, but I do need her, not show too much emotion and keep herself in check because the other players feed off of her.
Are the rule changes affecting your team at all, or have you seen anything that has led you to believe that anything different from last year to this year has meant anything so far?
I think, like I've told you before, I think it's helped us because it's given us more breaks and we're not as deep, and it helps people.
But aren't they supposed to be calling these games a lot tighter than they were a year ago?
They changed last year. The freedom of movement went in last year, so it's really just year 2. The biggest difference is our conference is very tight.
Okay. So they call it closer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we got to the free throw line 77 times between both teams on Saturday.
Wow.
And that's the part that I don't like, and I'm sure as fans it was not enjoyable and felt like it went on forever, and I'm kind of tired of that, but it's inconsistent, it's by official and stuff, but the freedom of movement is something they did put in last year. It's re-emphasized. It's crazy. You go to the OAC and play at Heidelberg, and they're letting everything go.
Yeah.
At the physical conference, you come here, you touch, done.
Yeah.
So it kind of varies by conference to conference.
Do you talk to your team before the game? Again, I guess you're in conference. It maybe stays a little bit more consistent from a standpoint of the foul calling, but do you try to talk to them before the game and say, get ready for about anything, and you're going to have to be ready to adjust and on the fly, I guess?
I don't try to start playing that game. Talking about officials or anything. I mean, I have the ability to go in and see right away, but it's not always guaranteed just because I had that official few games back the last year that they're going to still call the game the same way this time.
Right.
So you just got to feel it out, I think, mostly. Make some shifts and adjustments. I switched to zone a few times to protect some players on Saturday. That's on me to kind of figure out and make the adjustments on the fly.
Coach, 2 games in a row. You play on a Wednesday. You play on Saturday. I should say 2 games in a row at home. Talk about tonight's matchup, and certainly what do you expect out of this one here this evening? Want to win these games at home, that's for sure.
Yeah, they would be huge wins.
Yeah.
I think they're 2 of the best teams in the conference. Bluffton is very, very good. Like beating John Kill, who is, I believe, nationally ranked going into the season, was a big win for them. They beat Heidelberg, who we lost to and stuff, and they just are making it look fairly easy to beat Transy, defending conference, 3-time defending champs. They're very good from 1 through 6. They taper off a little bit beyond that, but the 1 through 6 could be, really good star players at any team. Very athletic. I call them ballers. They just look like a bunch of basketball players, and they play with that kind of swag about them. So it'll be a very big challenge for us tonight, and if we won, it would be a huge win for our program. And then turn around on Saturday and play Franklin, who's knocked off DePaul, who's done some good things so far this year. I mean, I knew when I looked at the schedule, I knew this 4-game stretch was honestly going to be a really tough stretch for us.
Yeah.
I was hoping to pick up a couple more wins to keep our spirits up a little bit. So I'm a little disappointed to only have 1 at this point. I hope we stay committed, stay. It's not a long season, it's a marathon. Don't get caught up on the sprints, and I got to do that as well.
And you you seem to have the uncanny ability as a head coach to get some of these teams when they're playing well, don't you? I mean, we talked about this before. All of a sudden, somebody comes in, they've won 3 or 4 in a row, and this is happening again with these 2 games.
Yeah, so I mean, it'd be nice to beat that team, and we have the possibility of doing that. We had to play team ball. I think I told you before, the margin of error is not real big. So if we do things well, I hope to kind of bluff them off a little bit with some things, and hopefully that doesn't knock us off.
Yeah.
And hit some shots, keep people on the court, and not have foul trouble, and all this thing kind of come together. Then we definitely have a shot. I think we have a little bit more depth in them and can go at them. I made some, tweaks about our offenses that could take advantage of how they play, and it's now on the team to go out there and actually execute it.
You mentioned the spirit of the team. How is it right now? Again, I know you're disappointed you haven't won more games at this stage. Are you getting a sense of how they're feeling right at this point?
Actually, yesterday was probably our second best practice we've had all year.
Good.
So
Wow.
they do a good job, and I constantly change things up all the time to kind of adjust and adapt to them as well, and help them keep them kind of guessing what's going to happen next, and keep their spirits up too. So that's something I do as a coach, and we like I think I told you, we're focused on committing to the process. We have these little things in our locker room, and we meet after every practice to talk about how did we hit our goals today and stuff. And I try to dumb it down to that, focusing on that more than focusing on the wins and losses, and control what we can control.
Sometimes you have to do that, don't you? I mean, as a head coach.
And I realize that's what a lot of championship level teams do too. They don't just say we're going to win this game. And I know when I was at Mount Union, we never jumped to the last game of the year. We focused on that moment, that game, every game, and one at a time. I know it's cliche, one at a time, very much.
Want to remind everyone that we'll have both games right here on Radio Troy Digital Sports. There's a preview on the EARLHAM Sports website as well, and of course, Mitch will keep you updated on all the different statistics and everything. If you can't be to the games this weekend, which we'd like to see a nice crowd. All the kids are back, right? I mean, students are back in class.
Finals is next week, so it'd be nice to get a decent crowd and kind of rattle them by having a good crowd.
And by the way, they're heading to California here pretty soon too, right?
Next week, no, not just coming up on us.
I was going to say, it is next week, isn't it?
Yeah, next Thursday we head out. So we got tough games out there. Chapman's have been in the NCAA tournament, and UC Santa Cruz has been getting 20 wins the last couple of years. So that's why I said we got a tough 4-game stretch here.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can get a couple, at least one, if not a couple, out of this next stretch.
It'd be a fun trip to California. Is Mitch going with you, or can I go? Or
Hey, you got the money, you can.
Oh, I see. It's all about the money. I see you. All right, again, tonight and coming up on Saturday, both games right here on Radio Troy Digital Sports. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next week.